79T 2458 learning call from Little Red Riding Hood, take one.
What's going on, fellas? How's things? Let's yeah, nice easy morning. Okay, I think we've had enough of the intro. Let's just move back to you and me. What's up? Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. We've got another red morning. What are we on now? It's episode like 170, something like that. I think I need an Australian accent so I can be taken seriously as an intellectual. No hate on Mr. Chris there. I just know he and Rolo just get their beef out of the way. But I know some of you guys aren't on your daylight savings time. So again, it's going to suck for you, but don't worry. We'll get there. We'll get there. I have a decent one. So this one, it's a bit different. Like it's one of my last, what's the date today? It's the 25th. So I got about one more week for it's time to buckle down and get back onto book 3, Praxeology, volume 2, Dread. So that should be good. The rain is gross right now. Yeah, I know it's pissing rain here in Toronto as well. So we're going to make the best of it. I'll make sure you guys get a good 2 hours here, something to listen to while you're working out, something to, well, just basically enjoy yourself. Anyway, so normally it's all very, like, extremely practical. This one's a bit more dry and abstract, but I'm doing my best at the end here to tie it back into actionable steps that people can apply on their own, both to validate or invalidate what I'm talking about and to use the information to better your life in ways that seems to matter. Thank you, Bish. You're great. So there's going to be demographic shifts. And that actually has an effect on the sexual marketplace. It really does. In a couple different ways, both on its perception and on how things play out, as well as some boomer parental examples, the greatest gen rebellion. The heck did I mean with that one? Well, I got to look through my notes there. Boomer parenting examples, greatest. Oh, right. So that's going to be about divorce and stuff like that. So you'll like that one. Next is how fiction creates mental models. I mean, we all kind of know that joke, you know, people watching Star Wars and thinking, this is how politics works. Calories create fat people, victims of our environment. This one is, I think people need to know this because they always assume that everything is a cabal of evil conspiracists. And everything we do is all about our gumption and our picking ourselves up. And I think people do a disservice by ignoring the importance of environment in what we do and who we do it with. So that'll be good there. Just give you a good understanding of how environment changes things. And this is going to be everything from mental health to sexual marketplace, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end, depending on how much time is left, I was just going to tap in some assertive Bill of Rights and tie it into there. So I think you'll like it. Well, yeah, Zach, we're not going to go that hardcore where it's like the different demographics and boomer technically isn't even a thing. And we're not going to go there. We're just going to remember, all models are wrong, but some are useful. So we're aiming for useful here. I reference Whisper a lot. Actually, you know what? Let's take a step back. If we're going to sound all smart and hoity-toity, we got to end it off with, let's get something stupid in here.
I don't usually post pictures of my kids online, but they're infants and you can barely see them, so, you know, it's fine. But a YouTuber named Ryan Stone tweeted, showing off the F trophies for clout. So the babies are trophies that I'm showing off. It's perhaps not a surprise that a picture of a proud father would be so upsetting to the sort of man who clearly never had one.
Never not be happy with that guy, watching him do his thing. So starting off demographic shifts, what are they talking about? Well, the baby boomers were kind of a different thing. They were the largest generation in the history of humankind. They outclassed all the other generations surrounding them, the old, the young, and it had a couple effects. First off, everything they went through was considered like an epic change. It was never just they turned to 19, they were teenagers just about turning 20, becoming adults, became sexually active. No, it had to be the summer of 69, the summer of love. And when they eventually got older, say the ages of like 35, 40, and that's like your years of building your wealth for retirement and families and that sort of thing. That wasn't just that parents looking to build themselves a nest egg for future. No. That was, corporate 80s Wall Street greed. And then culminating in COVID, where it was old people terrified of death, literally causing the world to grind to a halt to eke out a couple more months. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about individual baby boomers in this one. There's a lot of wonderful baby boomers that don't fit the stereotype. We're talking about generalities here. Well, they deem them epic. That's the thing. If consensus decides what happens here, then whoever has the most people are the one that makes it happen. And that's kind of the point. So with sex, it was the same thing. The birth control pill largely came out on the baby boomers' watch. Like, yes, there was other birth control methods, but the safe and effective pill came when baby boomers were ready to start having sex. And they threw away whatever you would think of tradition. Not that Norman Rockwell, I'm just smoking cigarette ad, like looking at cigarette ads, and that's what a family should be like. No, I mean like the traditional conservative upbringing. Nuclear family, yeah, that's not really that traditional, but anything before that too. They ditched it in a heartbeat just for a chance at some free, no strings attached poon. Soon as the pill came out, women were ecstatic because now they get to finally control, because there was methods of controlling birth before then, but that was mostly social. It was basically don't be in the same room with the girl alone. You got to have people come with you on your dates as like a chaperone. You got to save it till you're married. If you end up knocking a girl up, they're going to have a shotgun to make you get married. Shout out to ADJ. Actually, yeah, speaking of which.
Boom, what's up, fam? Got some big news to share that unfortunately is not so good, so I'm going to jump right into it. You're going to watch this video and you're going to cry. At least we can laugh at your ass as you cry like in the corner like a little girl in the fetal position.
Pick not related. Condoms existed, but people didn't use them. Remember, they were made out of like sheep intestines back then. So the whole vinyl and latex and stuff, that was kind of like a post World War II invention. So all this stuff kind of came around at the same time. Pulling out was the big deal back before the pill. But the point is, before the pill, women had to have all these social stigmas in place to make sure that they were able to control birth to a greater extent, parents more so, but the kids too. I think women kind of don't forget that they really did have they have always had the power over who gives birth. They always have. It's just how it got recommended. So anyways, with the pill, now they have some control over it, and that's where all the other changes kind of percolate. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. That's going to be more for environment. So they had a chance. Oh, we can wait until marriage and then, have sex, and then we can do the white picket fence and all that stuff. That's great. Somebody handed a girl a pill and said, here, you can have sex tomorrow and nobody will care. And they jumped on board. They threw everything away. And that should give people pause. Not because, the degeneracy of man in the Bible. It's like, no, it's because these people had the option. They could have gone traditional conservative. They could have not gone traditional conservative. And they ditched it in a heartbeat, which lets you know maybe what we have now was a better option. And I think that's like the red pill nobody wants to hear. Maybe nobody liked the way things used to be. Otherwise, they would have stuck with them. As much as you can say, and that's the only ever excuse against this is some way of, what do they call it? Just dismissal and dehumanization. Well, they were just short-sighted and stupid. It's like, well, they could have gone back at any time, but they didn't. They didn't. So you got to remember this. Like, even today, people here that say they want this traditional conservative life. Look, I've been alive long enough that I've seen trends. I've seen trends come and trends go. I remember when I was young and I was inexperienced with women, the idea of commitment was amazing. Oh, dude, a girlfriend was like the greatest thing ever. It's not about getting laid. It was about having a girlfriend. And then I started having sex. And all that thought of like a relationship kind of went away, which funny enough ended up in me having more sex. So it really isn't that these things are adequately better. It's more often than not when people start espousing their values, it's their way of talking about they're making their necessities into a virtue. And I always think about that every time some idiot talks about, fornication, yes or no. You got to remember, it's like, yeah, he's probably not living life in the way that he deems good. And so he wants, instead of changing himself to succeed, he changes the rules, or he wants to change the rules, or at the very least psychologically defend himself from the pain and failure by saying, if only the rules were changed, I'd have been better. It's like, yes, if only everything changed to accommodate exactly what I'm good at, I'd be the best guy in the world. Like, can you believe this stuff? Can you believe it? So yeah, and the boomers kind of just ran through everything, and millennials are now the new boomer. The reason I'm bringing this up is because did you ever notice that all of these White Claw, Power Hour, yelling at women on TV, entertainment things have only started popping up in the last couple years? Do you ever wonder why? It's like it's a demographic shift. It's the same thing. It's millennials, what are the youngest? Actually, I got to look this up. What are the youngest millennials now? I bet you anything this is going to show everything. Youngest millennial age. They say as late as the early 2000s. Okay, so I'll just go with that. 2000, whatever. Which makes them about 22 years old. 22 years old. Nothing fell off my table. So what happens at 22 years old? 1969, the summer of love. All of a sudden, guys want to get laid. Guys are old enough. The entire demographic is old enough to want to get laid. And then, bam, White Claw Power Hour resonates hard. And who's it resonate the hardest with? The 22-year-old guys who aren't getting laid. And what happens when they're not getting laid? They have to make some hard self-assessments. There is something I'm doing that is wrong that I'm not getting laid. Am I out of shape? Am I too skinny? Can I not talk my way out of a wet paper bag? Do I not have the silver tongue? Am I missing a little bit of an edge to make me attractive? What is it about what I have that women find unattractive? No. Trick is women are whores. It's just, you gotta kick them off the podcast, sir. It can't be me. I'm fucking great. My mom says I'm cool. Thanks, Millhouse. So all this stuff is demographic stuff. And again, because boomers now are aging out of like media and all that stuff, millennials have taken over the role of spiritual boomer. They're the largest demographic right now, driving entertainment, especially on the new platforms. So when you watch this stuff, just remember this. The only reason this is popular is because there's a demographic for it. It's not because of some change in truth. It's not because of some change in anything. It's just demographics, eyeballs, attention, drive economies. Yeah, until 25, I thought I was alone in this. I knew incels were a thing, but I considered myself normal. And don't get me wrong, there's good and bad that comes with it, you know? Like in the good sense, people finding out they're not alone in things is very useful from a red pill perspective. If you're in a struggling marriage, if you're in a struggling relationship, if you're not able to get to girls, as Aaron Clary would call it, finding out there's other guys in the exact same boat as you, it offers a bit of comfort, you know? Because now you realize, oh, so everybody's going through this, so maybe it's not that big a deal. Well, that's good. So if it's not that big a deal, then we can get to solutions. Yeah, and yeah, this guy solved it out. Like, there's a great sidebar post on the Red Pill. I think it's the second sidebar video I put out, which was Confessions of a Reformed Incel. 12 years, this guy. Fat, sexless, miserable. To the point that all that stuff you guys hear now with like black pill doomers and that, he's like, he wanted to like hit people, you know, violent, lash out, hates the world. What's that Peterson line about the angry at the world for the thing of being? I don't know, it's too smart for me, so I like using normal words. I don't need the fancy words. But yeah. So 12 years of that, and then he kind of hit an epiphany at one point where he realized, you know, just fuck it. There was a Reddit post, same thing, where this guy was going to commit self-delete. Sorry, Twitter. Self-deleting. And he's like, you know what? If I'm just going to go out anyway, I'm going to take all my savings. I'm going to go down to Mexico and I'm going to go on a coke-filled bender for the last month of my life. He basically made his own wake. And then he went down there and it was nothing but prostitutes and cocaine and risky behavior. And then by the end of his time, he found a reason worth living. He's like, hey, life's pretty good. And so, yeah, there's more of these cases, but you have to want to look for them. And most guys don't, because they're still stuck in that initial anger phase or the despondent phase of being in the struggling marriage, where all they want to do is go to the dead bedroom subreddit or look up the White Claw Power Hour and like, oh, I need to see that girl that looks like my ex-girlfriend getting kicked off the cast for not being smart enough to read books, or name 7 Eastern Bloc countries. Go. You can't do it, can you? Take that, titty. No shade on, well, a little shade on Myron. Dude, name 3 countries right now. It's like, bro, this is not the opener for you. This is not the opener for you. But as these things come out, then people realize, okay, I'm not alone. Like, whatever you've been through for, like, your ugly duckling syndrome, I haven't quite made it yet, I guarantee you, M3 in the Reformed Incel Confessions, he was through worse. It was about as bad as you can get. 12 fucking years, man. 12 fucking years. So that's the good side of things. You're going to see all these guys who are as bad or worse off than you, and they pulled themselves together and they're having fun and they're enjoying life. On the other side of things, most guys just want to be entertained. Most guys are lazy. Most guys just go with the flow. They just do whatever the herd is doing because it's easier than having to think for yourself, and I get it. I'm not even throwing shade at that part, but that's the problem. There is a bunch of people, gainfully employed, sexually despondent, who now have clever marketers looking at these guys thinking their attention's going to be great. They're already not fucking. So why would I not entertain them? And this is where you get your pearlies, your whatevers, your fresh and fit, all that stuff. Sam Whiskey, $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Getting drunk and joining the Navy. Good. Sitting in a BMW with a manifesto. Bad. Oh, that's a good reference. I like that. Yeah, if the reference he's making there is my decision to join the Navy, as I was a graphic designer, kind of the same, like not incel, but definitely not sexually successful. Girlfriend broke up with me, moved back to my college town, and then one day just got drunk, and I'm like, hey, my dad used to be a paratrooper, and I got drunk with my buddy. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And we called and signed up, and then I'm like, I must have known what I was doing when I was hammered, so when I was hungover, I went in. 13 years later. 13 years later, I decided to retire on Remembrance Day. Yeah, so watching this stuff, and I don't get it, but I try to get the appeal. The same way I used to watch Jerry Springer as a kid. It's nice to watch stupid people doing stupid things. Although, at least during the Jerry Springer era, people were kind of self-aware. Like, the trailer trash knew it was trailer trash. The producers knew it was sort of staged and hammed up for the audience. And Jerry Springer, he even made a movie where he played himself in like it was basically a biography, but it was some different guy, like, you know, Eric Bringer or something, but it was Jerry Springer. And then at one point he stares in the mirror, is like, I used to be the mayor of fucking Minneapolis. What is wrong with me? So like, even he knew, everybody knew it was kind of a clown show. But today it's just weird because everybody doesn't think it's a clown show. They think they're famous. It's got that reality TV seeped in. You know, the people that star on reality TV shows and they think, this is my big break. I'm a big deal right now. And you're like, no, dude. People just liked watching you because you were having cat fights with other chicks in Beverly Hills. Nobody cares about your talent, of which it's none of. Good job. You made some money, but you were basically whored. A prostitute without the dick. Yeah, exactly. Rubbernecking. Everybody slows down for a car wreck. But the problem is, most people, and this is me getting ahead of the gun now, or getting ahead of myself, most people don't know how much this stuff influences them. They really don't. Again, with the Jerry Springer thing, the one thing I preferred over that was that it was always fantastical plots. My cousin slept with my stepmother and caused me to have 3 brothers or something like that, right? Stuff you would... It's in the realm of believability, like you can understand how cousins can have sex, but it never affects your life. It never involves things you deal with from day to day. And that has an effect. I'm not saying school shootings cause, or video games cause school shootings here, but I'll get to that. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're talking about demographic shifts right now. So then these shifts create They create content because there's certain people feel a certain way, and everybody loves to have some commiseration and feel together. Girls have been doing it a while too. I can't get no man. Now think of it this way. Those youngest millennials right now are all like 22-year-old chicks having fun and partying, and they think guys are icky and creepy. When that generation turns 30, you think man-hating is bad now. Oh, I hate men, where have all the good men gone? That stuff is going to start ramping up in the next 5, 6, 7 years. Like, you're already seeing it now with the oldest generation of millennials. They've basically aged out. It's it. If Dalrock had a great piece. If you guys don't know, Dalrock is a Christian conservative, red-pilled, I guess, author. He kind of did what Rollo did about the landscape, and he would use a lot of statistics on it, which he actually did it in a way that I'm palatable. I still like the least red guy of the red spill space that I know, but like I've read him the least. But he was pointing out that for people who get married, it's that once a girl turns about 30, the people that are still not married by 30, they're like 3% of them get married afterwards. So that's it. If you haven't figured it out by 30, you're not going to figure it out. So when you see a girl that's 30, and this is never married, this is not second marriages, this is never married. So when you see a girl that age who hasn't been married, you can just tell this is the female version of an incel. And you can kind of disregard a lot of her stuff. And God knows, don't get me wrong, I got my own White Claw Power Hour on my Twitter thread. Even my pinned tweet right now, what is it? Bitching about girls' expiry date, and girls are just losing their shit. Today, I guarantee you there's 15 girls in there that gave me a statistic that showed me how my dick got smaller or something. You're just like, it's crazy. But I mean, you kind of have to do it too, right? And this is where I like to be honest with the audience, is that, yeah, it shouldn't work, or it shouldn't be there. It's not healthy, but it's there and it works. So if you're not using it, you're an idiot. And that's kind of one of those red pill lessons too. At the same time, I realize it's like makeup. You can tell a guy you're doing it, and it still works. Again, that's another way. I reference Whisper a lot. He had this post where he said, Jordan Peterson's not your friend, and like, don't worship other guys, don't put posters on your wall, it's not helpful. And that includes any other red pill dudes. He's like, don't get me wrong, I'll still steal your lunch and sleep with your girl, but I won't bullshit you. And it's not because I like you, it's just because I hate bullshit. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. Not bullshit you. Yeah, I can tell when brands put their marketing hats on. Anyone can. They all can. But that's the thing. And this is actually going to be coming up in the book on Dread. I think I touched on it in the latest Substack I have. It's Women Hate Sales and Love Marketing. It's actually a pretty poignant tweet. Marketing guys and lawyers tend to be the very best when it comes to learning about red pill stuff, because their whole job is learning people, which is nice. But when you think of sales, you think of like overt manipulation, you think of used car salesmen, you think of like shady tricks and tips and grifts and stuff that just makes you feel like you're trying to be like they're trying to manipulate you overtly, and you hate that stuff. Buy my thing, buy my this, and you're like, it's just got like a dirtiness to it, right? And marketing, on the other hand, is more like an iPhone. Not the newest iPhone, just any iPhone. It's, this thing is great, this thing is amazing. They don't tell you you need to buy it. Like, they need you to buy it, but they don't act as if they need you as a customer. They just show you how great their life is over there, and then you want to come join? Yeah, well, just grab an iPhone. You can get there. Come on in. Dance to your little iPhone tunes. Is that a bit dated on the commercial? And that's the same thing with advertising, with marketing, with sex, with sexual marketplace, with relationships. It's always about that. When you're trying to convince a girl, and this is why Rollo, when he talks about negotiated desire at best can lead to obligated compliance, but it just doesn't work. And that's why. It's because it's marketing versus sales. Sales is you walking up to a girl and saying, I'm good in bed, I'm a great father, I have six-pack abs, a six-figure salary, and this. You're sending a resume over. And all the girl is looking at is like, they got this intrinsic, oh, it's like a used car salesman. Oh yeah, this baby's got 100,000 miles underneath the hood and blah, blah, blah. And same thing as girls when they talk about their little coping strategies. It's like, men are just so intimidated by me because I'm super intelligent and a boss bitch and a great salary. And the guys are always like, you notice how you like internally, you don't even have to really articulate it, but you just know it's like, thanks, but no thanks. Or, you know, kick her off your podcast or whatever it is you do. You know? And that's it. It's because people hate sales, but people love marketing. On the other hand, you get a pretty girl talking on, or even like an attainable girl, not mentioning anybody in particular here, but a girl that's like available, and they don't pressure you into finding them attractive or wanting to wife them up. They just act awesome. And then you get this idea in your head. You're like, dude, I'd be stupid not to wife this one up. Look how great she is. That's how I got caught. My girl was just fun, amazing. And over a year, she just didn't do anything that was a red flag. And I was like, I was amazed. I have never seen a girl that didn't have like a glaring red flag. And this is not like, well, I tried it 3 times and once was like, no, we're talking like a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen. You're just like, all right. Like girls that don't have red flags aren't there. And that's it. It's like, because the red flags, they have to rely on sales. They have to tell you how awesome they are. They have to do things. The marketer just shows you the lifestyle that could be yours, but doesn't push for you to buy. It almost makes you want to chase it, right? Am I attractive? No, it's the men that were wrong. Yeah. And that's how like the demographic shifts matter. You get enough people that are in these situations. And that's the one thing we have kind of lost now is pre-internet, pre-social media. You only had your geographical area to kind of learn from. And most people are decently social, or at the very least they have enough experience that they can pass for it. The problem is now everybody's online. So the decently social people are still out there, but nobody's out there talking to them. They just deal with online people. You've seen the stats, online dating going up, that kind of thing too, right? So again, as a demographic, all you're doing is you're looking around and seeing socially awkward people. That's it. You're like, I'll tell you this right now. And this is just take it as a statement in a vacuum. You put me in a room with a bunch of like big tittied Vegas car show girls. The last thing I'm going to do is start arguing with them about nonsense. I'm going to have a pleasant, normal conversation. Maybe be a bit charming. If I was single, maybe a bit more flirty. Stuff like that, right? Do I have a shot at it? Maybe, maybe not. Does it really matter? It's like, why would you not be charming? I think Mish, Chad of Arabia himself, follow him on Twitter, good guy, put it best. He goes, hey, being good company is free. Dark Knight Dev. Oh, cuck article. 1 cuck article super chat. All right, heartfelt, sir. Heartfelt. $5. Hey, I found a chick who thought not having an iPhone was a red flag. White Claw Power Hour was right, and I totally laughed it off. And that's why it didn't matter, man. Oops. Get that back there. Just the fact that you laughed it off. Treating it as a red flag. Because this is more of like a frame situation. But yeah, the biggest frame always wins in these ones. If not having the newest iPhone was a red flag and you're laughing it off because it's really silly, who do you think wins in that engagement? Unless the girl was never into, in which case they just wanted an excuse, and the newest iPhone wouldn't have helped you either. But yeah. 1 red flag is too many. 6 is an amusement park. Well, there's something that nobody tells you in White Claw school. Everybody has some type of red flag. Everybody does. You're never going to meet a girl that's perfect and misses all these red flags, because red flags are fairly, like, there's some that most people can agree on, but it's a gray zone and you never know. Some people's or other people's. Some guys, tattoos. Some guys, like, I don't care about tattoos, but a lot of people do care about, obviously, a face tattoo I care about, or I don't like that stupid dream catcher, but that's different than any girl that's got a tattoo belongs to the streets. Long hair, short hair, blondes, Asians, everybody has all their little subjective red flags. Makes fun of me in front of friends, blah, blah, blah. And there's always, like, some of them, there's a veneer of legitimacy behind them. You can use it if you want to. You know, paternity fraud, the instinctual need to pass our genes. Like, I get that one. I get that. The heart wants what it wants, right? But at the same time, a lot of these ones are just narcissistic symbols. So, for example, the tattoos. Guys don't want tattoos because they think it symbolizes promiscuity, which unfortunately, the only thing that signals promiscuity is having a vagina. So it's like, I don't know, you're going to do. Well, I mean, to be fair, most guys don't really want girls with vaginas anyway. So they say they do. But then they describe their perfect woman, and it's basically just, call me ma'am. They just want that teacher from Toronto. The woodshop teacher with the giant jugs. That's what guys really want. That's all they want. The newest iPhone. Dude, that makes me laugh. All right. Let's give old Steady a go.
You want to tell me why the majority of people that voted yes, I can be submissive are men?
Just want to talk a little bit about why I love women.
And the majority that said no are women? I would love y'all to ponder that for a fucking second.
I love how they always make sure, by and large, they shower the feminine energy that girls put out. It's magnetic.
You think I can be submissive? You
I adore it.
The only way that would be funnier is if Stedman was blinking in Morse code, like those guys that got caught in Iraq or Korea, and they're blinking "help me" while they're saying yes, they're treating us well in prison. I just think it would be funny. Yeah. But I mean, and so I'll end on this, and then we're going to get to the boomer parental examples, the greatest generation rebellion, in a second. But so, for example, some of these things, there's like a good basis from it, and other ones are just narcissistic symbols. Tattoos is a symbol for promiscuity. So the guy's looking for tattoos when what he should be looking for is signs of overt or like over promiscuity, basically. But then what's even promiscuity? That's just a girl who's not going to be loyal to you. We can all give the line about, well, guys like to know what's our thing, and the fruit flies share DNA with extra love. We're like, fuck off. You just want to get with a girl, and you don't want to put up with the pain of her possibly getting a dick somewhere else. And the worst part is you not knowing about it, because then everybody will laugh at you for being a cuck. That's the issue. It's ego. But again, with all these things, the answer is simple. It's just trust people's behavior. Keep your eyes open. Have some abundance. Because most of the time, if somebody treats you badly, the only reason you let them is because you don't have any other options. So no matter what the problems are with people's red flags, having options solves all that, which, great. Anyways, boomer parental examples, the greatest generation rebellion. What the hell does he mean by this? And this is Clary and I talk about this. He always says, don't get married, don't get married, don't get married. I don't like that approach because, I mean, we shit on everybody. We really do. And we should, because most people are just trash. But they're all telling you what to do. The one guy's like, the traditional conservatives, don't have sex till marriage and get married and have a job and retire your wife. And the feminists are like, be a good thing. And the fourth wave feminists are like, you need to jump on the trolley for me. And everybody's got these demands of you. It's amazing. It was this great red pill essay on this one where Buddy was saying, I think it might have been Human Sock Puppet on this one. But always be very careful when somebody talks about how they can save the world, because the first questions you need to ask are, okay, what work is involved and who's supposed to make the sacrifices? Because it's almost always you. It's never them. When the traditional conservatives tell you to do all these things to save the West, what does it involve? You sacrificing yourself and doing all this work for a world that their kids get to enjoy and you'll never experience of. Like, nobody wants to make any headway. They want everybody else to do it for them. Yeah, here's Chad in the chat himself. There he is. Happy Ramadan, people. So I don't like saying don't get married. It's telling you what to do. It's antithetical or anti-ethical. Anyways, it's against the idea of the red pill as a praxeology. So I prefer to say marriage is a bad deal for men. Because then it puts the onus on you. Well, are you going to get married? Well, no. Or, well, it's a bad deal for men, but, for me, it makes sense. It's worth the trade-offs, and they do it. So that's great. But you just don't want anybody going in there with any illusions. Like, no, this is the way to do it. This is how to be happy. It's like, I don't know, man. It's not really. It's not really. People aren't, like, happiness is a choice anyway, which is funny because, you guys may have remembered, what the hell was her name? There's this chick on Twitter. Not Bimbo Ubermensch. It's Radfem Hitler, which I'm like, okay, whatever. Anyway, some angry blonde chick. Apparently she's good looking. Whatever. Small tits, hates girls with big tits, angry at guys, yelled at me because I thought take a girl on a coffee date because I don't want to waste everybody's time by forcing us to sit there and have dinner together. talking about how men turn 40 and they basically describing the wall, but for men. As men turn 40, you guys become old and lonely and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. So I went to all you guys. I'm like, here, are you single or are you in a relationship? And are you happy or are you unhappy? And you look at it, even across all of it. So it turns out whether you find a good woman or not has no bearing on whether you're happy or have regrets or resentments at all. That's just it. It's just not an issue. For women, it absolutely is. For men, not so much. Yeah, see, yeah, some guys were single and happy. Some guys were married and happy. Some guys were single and miserable, and other guys were married and miserable. But I mean, this is one of those things when you look at the marriage, and I don't care, you can throw statistics at me. You can say like longevity. We can use Rollo's example. We can use my example of an alternative strategy. We can use anything we want. You're not going to reach anybody with that. And I don't know why you would anyway. The idea of like wanting, because again, people hate sales. People love marketing. So what's sales? Get married, don't get married. Get married, don't get married. Just two used car salesmen. One's trying to sell you a Lexus, the other one's trying to sell you a Toyota. Either way, all you wanted was a Jeep YJ to go to the beach. Instead, it's marketing. Rollo, for his example, 25 years, was he 26 years now, 30 years married? He's been married a long time, seems perfectly happy, has a wonderful kid, off to college, doing her thing, everybody's happy. There's mine here, 13 years common law so far, still going on strong, happy as hell. No issues, no complaints, everything here is like red pill perfection. That's marketing. Sales is somebody sitting here saying, yeah, tattoo your name on your girl, and she'll love you forever. Be like me, it worked for me. You guys need to do this, you guys need to do that. Meanwhile, the girls with the tattoos on them are ratting them out to the feds, right? Yeah, I change the colors every now and again, Governor. It's good to see you, brother. So why are you not going to convince anybody one way or the other? Well, it's because I'm noticing marriage is like circumcision, in that as soon as you start having an argument about it, everybody just defaults to what they already had. And that's the way to have it. I will always laugh at the stupid MGTOWs. Yes, and they actually have arguments over circumcision and goofy men going their own way conversations, which is just the most cringe thing ever. And all you're seeing is like whoever's circumcised says circumcising is fine. And those who don't are like, no, that's female genital mutilation for men. And you're like, all right, fair enough, guys. I'm going to go brush my teeth. At least my teeth will be clean at the end of this. Something to show for it. But yeah, at least half of millennials out here watch their boomer parents decimate the family unit with divorce. Decimate it. There is no guy you're going to walk up to who watched his parents divorce, parental alienation, dad going out for cigarettes, mom being abusive, putting cigarettes out on the kids. You watch all this stuff, there is no argument you can make to tell that guy, yeah, but this is going to be different, bro. You can marry her. You got this. Most of the time, and the few that do it are doing it in a way to like, I'm going to teach Jad a lesson. And that's what the boomers did too, by the way. Greatest generation, I think, was it the greatest generation were their parents? Yeah. Greatest generation. Came back, worked hard, got through the Depression, did World War II. Bam. You work hard, you sacrifice, and everything goes well. And the boomers were like, no. I'm just going to be a pothead. I'm going to live life to the fullest. I'm going to try to slide into the grave with the last $5 in my pocket, shit like that, right? They kind of rebelled against their parents too, and then the millennials rebelling against these ones. The difference is, like, dude, I watched you give away $1 million in alimony and lawyer's fees for a marriage you didn't even want, to a girl you didn't even like, to have kids that you clearly resent but pretend you still love. And maybe they do still. I mean, you can still resent your kids and love them. A lot of parents do that. Deceptively, a lot. And I'll say this, the one thing that's very nice about being a professional asshole, not asshole consulting level professional asshole, but professional asshole, is that people are very, very forthright with me, which is nice. All you need to do is have just like no filter and discretion. But yeah, a lot of people very resentful of their kids, didn't like the idea of having them, didn't want them. You know, they love them to death, but if they could go back and do it again, they wouldn't. Even the married red pill had this with the wives. Hunter Drew, which you guys may remember, his name is Zach Small now, I think. I don't know if that's his real name or not. I hope not. Had this old post, like, I would do it again. And he was talking about, knowing what I know now, I'd get married again. And oh, fuck, it stirred up the hornet's nest and everybody's yelling at each other. And so we kind of did, like, you know what, let's actually see. And so all the mods and the flavor posters and the flared guys got together. And I think it was like 90%. It's like, nah. Like, I love my wife and we have great times together. But if you put me into my 20-year-old body, no. Nope, not doing it. So yeah, a lot of the times, like, you can't really manipulate anybody into anything anyway, because people hate sales, people love marketing. Also, you can't talk somebody out of what they saw with their own damn eyes. In fact, everybody I see now that talks about a great marriage tends to come from parents that loved each other back home. So it's kind of, but that's the problem, is that it's a dwindling pool and it's only going to get worse. So that first generation, you know, half the people got divorced. I don't really care if the numbers are right. Just go with me on this one. Of the half that remaining, maybe half of their kids get divorced, whatever. And so the pool of happily married people, you can tell it's already going the way of the dodo. So obviously you got two choices. You can roll your dice. Like, don't get me wrong. The solution to dealing with a troubled economy is to be a multi-millionaire. Okay. Make $6 million. That solves all your problems. Well, that's a very realistic scenario. If everybody would be a millionaire, we'd never have problems with money. The problem is with that competition, it just raises the bar. There's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, because as everybody fits that solution, the paradigm changes and then a different solution exists. So if you don't believe me, just look at Canadian inflation. Everybody got given money for free during COVID, and now the monies ain't worth shit. So when everybody wins, nobody wins. So how do you win in a landscape where a bunch of people are going to lose, a bunch of people are going to win, but most people are going to middle their way through it, barely scraping by? I'm not telling you the answer because I don't know the answer. I know the answer I've chosen for this. Well, common law relationship, sticking together, focusing on doing what you do, get ready to get off the grid. Hell, my brother and I, we talk about our plans for expatriating pretty much every time we're on the phone. Which is funny because, you know, he and his girl earn more than me and mine, but he is the younger brother too, right? So we'll see. It's a race against time, but it'll be neat. It's like Shawshank Redemption. Hey, morning, guys. I see a couple new guys near. People love to buy. They don't like being sold to. Absolutely. People hate sales. People love marketing. So the greatest gen rebellion, man. Everybody just looks to what happened in the past, and Zoomers do that now too. They're doing that now. They look at everything millennials love and they take a giant steamy shit all over it. Like, I was worried about Clown World for the longest time. I'm like, oh my God, people are eating Tide Pods and putting bleach on their chicken and all this stuff, until one of the Zoomers, they let me in on the secret. And I was like, oh, okay, I see it now. They found out that by acting a completely ignorant and stupid, that they will piss off millennials. Girls figured it out. They started calling things chuggy. Anything from the 90s and the 2000s that was cool, Zoomer chicks would call it chuggy. Chuggy didn't mean anything, but they just said it as if it did mean something. It was pejorative. And then all the millennial chicks are like, what? Skinny jeans? No, no. And what happened? The millennial chicks started wearing those baggy TLC 1990s jeans because skinny jeans were chuggy. Guys around the world, thank you. I hated seeing the girls, you know, shape behind their jeans. I love when they look like they're wearing fucking bell bottoms. Yeah. Same thing with the guys. You see people out there bleaching their chicken and that. Like, I'm pretty sure that meme of like black people washing their meat, like with soap and scrubs, I'm pretty sure that's just to fuck with people. Yeah, it was a weird week. So now that I understand that, a lot of the Clown World stuff is people fucking with you. That's all it is. That's all it is. And it kind of lets you know it's not that things are fucked up. Maybe the world's not crazy. Maybe you're just fragile. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So I got to give kudos to the Zoomers there, because I remember the millennials, for us, it was all about tryhards. Putting effort into anything was the worst thing you could do. And then the boomers hated it because they always thought of themselves as, I'm the most productive generation ever because we just threw manpower at the problem. And then to see their kids that didn't even want to put effort into it because that was lazy, that pissed them off too. Look at these kids. They're just wearing flannel and Flannel and ripped jeans. What a bunch of hippies. Meanwhile, the boomers are dressed up as devils, walking around playing their Kiss. Look at these kids in their Metallica. Damn millennials. Yeah, so nobody ate Tide Pods, by the way. And then you kind of realize, like, as you get media savvy, and I think it's honestly, if I have to pivot this channel, I'm probably going to pivot it to more media savviness as opposed to sexual strategy, because frankly, the well runs deep, but it's a very shallow pool when you talk about sexual strategy. Once I've finished the sidebar stuff, that's all there is to say, and I can repeat it ad nauseum. But the media savvy stuff is really important too, and they all kind of tie together. Because in the same way you're trying to sell products and widgets to people, people are selling sex to each other. So it's a good thing to have. And that's just, again, that's just the demographic thing. Like right now, I'm exposed to a bunch of people at various levels of media savviness. There's some people that are brand new to it and they don't know what they're doing. There's some people like me who are like moderately good at it, but not good enough to think of themselves as good. And then there's people that are really good at it. Like Pearly, as much as I hate the fact she's brought so much nonsense into this space, you got to give her credit for marketing. She's very good at that. Jim Call. Oh, thank you, sir. $10 1 cent super chat. Appreciate it. No cuck articles for you. Ryan, I very much appreciate your analysis of relationship dynamics, especially marriage conflicts. Very helpful. Dude, thank you. Like I said, that's the one thing I love about the Mids Watch is just showing examples. And it's funny. I think I'm up to almost 70 episodes now. Every single one of them will have somebody in the chats like, dude, I just went through this with my wife. And I think those are the important comments. I should really pin them more, but because I think people need to realize, because so many situations you see on the internet are convoluted. Guy has the newest iPhone, kick him to the streets. Oh, this girl's got this, kick him to... Like, nobody ever goes through that. Nobody. But in every relationship, there's a guy who didn't buy the red wine or bought the red wine because he liked it, not realizing that his dinner guests are like allergic to it. That's an example that from one of them there. Or how a girl's relationship with her father shows how she gets validation from men other than by using sex. Things like that. Like everybody can relate to those. Yeah, so my sex sales are at 4% this quarter. That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, I gotta get comfy here. Just between the two of us. It's not a very comfortable seat. I like the idea of the ball and claw leather looking chair, but this thing's fucking annoying. So yeah, the greatest generation rebellion, boomer parental examples. And it's not just divorce. It's the parenting strategies too. This whole like the participation trophy thing was an abject failure. I get it, like their dads were hard on them. It's like, my dad used to spank me for the smallest things. He used to beat me and blah, blah, blah. I'm never going to hit my kids. A lot of parents actually base their parental strategies on teaching their dads a lesson. It's like the daddy issues for men. I even have friends that do that where they didn't like their fathers. They were kind of unimpressed with their mothers, especially after the divorce. And so their families now, they're making the effort to go the other direction and make sure that they never have to put their kids through that same problem. Again, good, but it comes with problems. So part of it is an ego thing. Like the guys that did this, usually it's guys I really respect, awesome guys, very switched on, very smart, great people by any metric you want to use, earning well, that kind of thing. But they think there's a part of it where it's like, I don't think my kids are strong enough to handle this. Like, I could have done it, but they can't do it. Part of it is not even thinking about it as people. Part of it's just thinking, yeah, teach you a lesson, Dad. And then part of it is just thinking that I would have been so much better if this never happened to me. So if, and this is the covert contract part of it, if I give my kids every opportunity, they will take advantage of it and they'll live the life that I always thought I could. You know, like in an extreme example, it's those soccer moms and hockey dads. Canada had this great PSA. You should look it up. It's fucking hilarious where they talk about parents who are fighting with their kids, like as soccer moms and that. And one was this guy watching his kids play hide and seek. And he starts yelling at his kids like, that's not how you play hide and seek. Come here. And he's just berating him. Pulls open a sewer thing. He's like, get in the sewer. That's how you hide. Do you understand me? That's how you hide. And it was just, the PSA was like, stop yelling at the refs. It's just kids hockey. Relax. Relax. Now, don't get me wrong. Wanting your kids to do better than you, that's a normal human emotion. Nobody's faulting that. But a lot of the time, and I've seen this from my generation when the parents put this pressure onto the kids and the kids just rebel. Kids always rebel. When they turn 13, it's very hard that I've seen a kid who's turned 13 and didn't run away from home for 4 hours. You know, they always run away from home and then they have no plan. They're like, fuck, I'm hungry. It's dinner time. All right, I'm coming back home. And mom kind of knows, like, all right, just sit down, you idiot. Of course you're not running away from home. You don't even have a key. Most of them go too far the other way, blind to their own problems. Well, it's more so the covert contract side of things. Again, I use covert contracts all the time when you're describing sex and relationships, but parenting, same thing, right? So, for example, your kid gets old enough where they can start taking advantage of all these benefits you've given them, and then they just don't. I still remember I had one client back in the day. His parents owned like a farm, a big farm, and their plan was send him to school, but then once he's done university, come back and you're going to take over the farm. And then they gave him every opportunity because they wanted that, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to do his own business, do his own thing, and got educated on things for a different field. And it caused a lot of conflict between that because the parents' covert contract. If I give my son all the opportunities I never have, he'll live the life that I wanted for me, and it will have a problem-free life. And it just didn't work out that way. And again, one of those funny things, like as I'm teaching guys to go through their covert contracts, they start to learn that it's not just them with covert contracts. You know, their wives have covert contracts. Their dads have covert contracts. Their bosses have covert contracts. They start to notice and this usually comes after you've dealt with like most of yours to the point where you're kind of struggling to find where you have covert contracts, but they're like, wait a minute. So like now my wife has a covert contract. How do I deal with it? My dad has a covert contract. How do I deal with that? And this is kind of one of those advanced topics we never really get into because frankly, most people just aren't there. I think I talk about it mostly on the Patreon now because that's really the only place where I find guys that are majority switched on, like would know what they're doing. They've got all the basics down. We don't have to, fix all the stupidity, White Claw Power Hour stuff. It's guys who know what they're doing. They fix their sex lives. Now they're like, I got to fix these other people's covert contracts. And frankly, the part that makes me laugh the most is by nuking the covert contracts the same way that their wives and girlfriends were doing to them tends to be a way to blow it up and draw attention to it and fix it. So at the end of it, what do? I just did what my bitch ex-wife did. Dark Knight Dev. Again with the fucking cuck articles. All right, that's heartfelt ×2 for Dark Knight Dev, $10 super chat. Needed my alternator replaced on my Pathfinder. Guy tried to charge me $1,200 for it. Towed it to the mechanic and paid $400 to fix it. The Manosphere ain't the only one marketing fear and selling a solution. Oh, dude, that's a classic. You know, mechanics, they used to be so bad for that too, Dev, that they actually have a manual now, like a best practices for all the repairs of a car would need. So for example, what is that one? Alternator? Yeah, an alternator. You can actually go and look up how many hours of labor does an alternator repair cost and how much should parts cost, give it like within a range. And you're supposed to be able to look at this, some Consumer Reports thing. If somebody remembers the name of it, let me know. Where you go in and you should basically be able to look down the list. Okay, alternator, this much in labor, this much in parts, cost about this much. And so when you get your estimate from your mechanic, if it doesn't jive with that, there's usually a good reason for it. Yeah, these covert contracts freaking me out. They're literally everywhere. They are because people are ridiculous. We're just bad. We're just bad at what we do, man. We're goofy little primates. Primates with cell phones. Yeah. So other people's covert contracts, again, parenting is one of the hugest covert contracts. In the book 3 on Dread, at the ending of it, I'm going to spoil the ending for you. There's really 5 different outcomes that come after a round of Dread. The first one, sex life improves, wife acts right, everybody's happy, happily ever after. The other 4 are the more realistic scenarios. And that is whether, it's like a matrix, whether you leave your wife or whether you stick together, and whether you plate your ex-wife or you don't plate her. And everyone comes with pros and cons. The one that I'm thinking of is this guy, True Datness. He was the only married red pill guy I ever knew of who lost his flair. Well, actually, yes, Will 88 did too. But that's people, whatever. Names you've never heard of, don't really care about. The point is, he had a covert contract with his kids. So his daughter, the same thing. The ex-wife was just horrible, fucking toxic, everything you could think of. You'd have kicked her off the podcast if you knew her. You know what I mean? That kind of chick. And the guy complained about her, and then he got with a new girl, and he sorted out his stuff, and he kind of got his sexual thing in order, fixed his relationships, all that great red pill stuff. Still had the one glaring covert contract. So his daughter was raised by the ex-wife. And the ex-wife, parental alienation, I believe they called it, basically badmouthed him, caused her to hate him because that's the only information she got about dad was about this hating him thing. Ended up, her car got smashed up, and she needed a new car. And so the dad's like, you know what? I can buy you a new car. I just want you to come over, spend some more time with me and your stepmother, or my new wife, or something like that. And the daughter's like, I'm not going to do that, Dad. Fuck it. Ex-wife gives her car, and then she smashes that one too. And now his attitude was like, well, now who's going to come crawling back? And kudos to the chick. She could have easily just lied to him and took the money and bought a car, but she at least was honest enough with him not to do that. So his result. And it was a very obvious, like anybody watching would have known. It's a covert contract. You're trying to buy your daughter's affection by dangling a thing in front of her. And then once you became more desperate, you started to get high and mighty over it. Oh, he fucking lost his mind. Fuck you guys. This is my daughter. You're not... And everybody loves saying that. Like, this is my kid. And they say that as if the rules stop applying as soon as it's a kid. No, never. You have to do everything. Same as those divorce guys. You know the ones, the MGTOWs love these guys that spend their entire life savings on fighting in court to get slightly better custody. Because, you know, it's your kids. You got to pull out all the stops. Meanwhile, the kid no longer has a college fund. The parenting situation is still where it's at. Nothing gets any better. And now when the guy's an adult, the kid has no reason to want to get better with him. So it's like, and I hate to say this is like, sometimes there is no good options. It's the Kobayashi Maru of relationships. And yes, I know it's a nerdy reference, but like picture these kind of scenarios, right? Your wife and you are getting divorced. She's going to get custody because you made a bunch of decisions that the courts decided. You decided you didn't want to be a father. You worked overtime all the time to provide for your family. So the courts are like, well, your idea of parenting was financial, so we'll let you stick with that. Mom's idea of parenting was spending time with her kids, so we'll let her stick with that. And then you're like, yeah, but I want to see my kids. They're like, well, you should have thought about that before you started making all these decisions saying you didn't. So you could spend your life savings on that, or you can have a college fund set up for your kid, and most of the time you spend with your children. This is one of those great things. I think Frenchie and Rule Zero Dad talked to me about for getting older. It was like the majority of the time you spend with your kids will be them as adults. And then you have to ask yourself, do I want to be a good father, trademark, or do I want to raise good kids? Because if you don't know, your kids will. The guy who wants to be a good father spends all of his money to fight the ex-wife in court because it feels good. The guy who wants to raise good kids is like, all right, like, you know, choices were made. This is the shitty situation we're in. The kid can still come and see me at any time. I got a college thing set up for the kid, and whatever issues with parental alienation, we can sort that out when they get older. God knows, most red pill guys I know, one of the nice side effects of fixing their marriages and their relationships is that they tend to mend things with their parents too. A lot of daddy issues out there, me included. I had it. And then you just kind of realize, like, all that shitty stuff growing up, part of it was just your mom would bitch and complain to you, and there was the first issue of like taking women seriously. And then you realize, okay, so she was just complaining. It really wasn't that bad. In my case, it was, but at the same time, you kind of realize, like, they did the best they can. This is all they knew. There was nobody there helping, you know, dad or stepdad on how to do this stuff well at all. And so they just went with their instincts, and you can't hold it against them. And you're like, eh. And then you get to talking together, and then you realize, like, oh, geez, he was probably put in a pretty shitty situation there. Shotgun wedding? Holy fuck. Yeah, I'd have been pretty pissed off too. Like, I think about my stepdad. He basically, his third marriage, got a chick with 2 kids, signed up for it, and she was brutal to him. Yeah, of course he was going to be a bit of a dick about that. And so you just realize you just let this kind of stuff go. Same thing with the kids. Sometimes you just got to let these fights go and think about the bigger picture. So, and I'm not saying this, and I hate when I talk about these things because they're very extreme examples. Most people never have to go through with it. But I want to articulate an idea. And the idea is sometimes you have to check your ego at the door and look at what it is you're trying to accomplish. And I would argue for most parents, and I'm hoping this is true. I know it's not, but I'm hoping it is. Your plan is to have your kids raised to be wonderful adults that you'd want to spend time with, you know? And sometimes that involves really eating a lot of shit because the divorce sucked. So yeah, sometimes you just have to rebel against a lot of this stuff. And God knows, nobody's helping you on the outside either. You've got MGTOWs on one side, feminists on the other, conservatives and Democrats and Republicans and all this stuff. They love cheerleading you as the example of whichever one you reach. Oh, it's the man, he just loves his kids too much. Tucker Carlson will be talking about you all day and you feel emboldened. Yeah, I'm going to spend my life savings. It's like these people have no stake in your happiness or your failure or your success. You are just reflecting a narrative they want to sell to other people. And don't forget, people hate sales. They love marketing. So don't let the salespeople at Fox News or MSNBC or feminism.com or MGTOW. What's that MGTOW channel? MGTOW.tv or any of these people start to convince you of doing something that they say is in your best interest, but is really just pushing their own narratives. They're just trying to sell used cars. You focus on being a good example for yourself. And yeah, sometimes it's going to involve making hard, difficult decisions, but hey, if you can keep your ego out of the equation, you'll be just fine. So enough serious talk. Let's shit talk some, what the hey.
Not Ryan Stone. I think he's the most important guy in the world. Ryan Stone. Give a fuck about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth. Blah, blah, blah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6-foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give a fuck with Ryan Stone.
The heck does he mean? Fiction creates mental models? Oh, you have no idea. Before that, quick shout out for the gaming channel.
Baby, I love you! Baby!
I gotta put the thing in there. There she is. You know, I'm gonna pin that. I'm actually proud of it. Dude, if this channel ever takes off, I'm so leaving the red pill space. It's just a toxic piece of shit. I'll make sure I finish the sidebar first, but like, first chance I get out of here, I'm taking it. Dark Knight Dev, practical way of dealing with single moms. Same as dealing with any girl, man. As you get older, the problem's going to become more and more prevalent. It's almost like, what is it you want? Like, you're going to have to accept that her kids come first. And to be fair, a lot of guys who complain about that, it's like, well, you're sitting here talking about how you want a great mother for the kids, right? So kind of don't you want a girl who puts the kids first? Having said that, I've seen a lot of single moms do not put the kids first, so. But yeah, it's just like anything else. What do you want out of life? Are you getting value for what you're putting in? I would argue against the Insta family, but that's me personally. That's not my red pill opinion. I've just seen too many Navy guys go on a deployment, come home, 6 weeks later, you're like, how the fuck do you got a wife and 3 kids? I just saw you 3 months ago. Yeah, she's the one, man. She really loves me. And I'm like, oh, fuck. You look over and you see like she's got... Anybody who's from Victoria, BC will remember this. There was this place called the Boom Boom Room. And what they used to offer were these little rubber keychains that had Boom Boom on it. And that was your VIP pass. And it was funny because as soon as you saw somebody's keychain and they had one of those tags on it, you just knew. Like, and this was the bar that... it was a very diverse and inclusive bar. Do you understand my drift here? Yeah. Don't blame you, Ryan. ABBA and Preds. Well, on a mission. Oh, you mean ABBA and Preach? Oh, dude. Those guys make me laugh. Like, they ain't about that drama. I was like, that's the 15th video where they're not about that drama. I was like, okay, sounds good. Yeah, I get it. Strong, independent woman. I think that's the trick, though. You gotta act like a clown, but pretend you don't like clowns. And that's how people are like, yeah, I don't like clowns either. All right, so now that I have that emotional separation from clownings, give me some clown shit. So yeah, fiction creates mental models. What the hell is that? Well, I mean, it's like an Overton window thing, right? You've seen on the Red Pill where they talk about the Disney fantasy, and people always love shitting on that. Like, what? Video games cause school shootings? It's like, no, it's not really that. So I keep talking to you about mental models, and a lot of people talk about mindset and they use them interchangeably, which is not the case. There's a very specific reason that I say mental model, People talk about mindset. It's this wishy-washy thing that just like, it's like The Secret. If I think it, I can make it real. And it's not what a mental model is. A mental model is just how the brain functions. We think in narratives. We're a story-driven species. That's what we did for 100, like as soon as we developed language, we developed the ability to have mental models. That's the whole purpose of it. To be able to share information memetically between people. Memetics. Does that sound like memes? Yeah. It turns out meme was just shorthand term for memetics. There's genetics, memetics, and temetics. Susan Blackmore, student of Richard Dawkins. Great research on it. There was actually like an old TED Talk even that was useful on it if you ever find it. The idea is genes is a way of sharing information, like with genes. It's a very slow, it's a very stable, it's a very chaotic system. You guys all know about evolution, that's fine. Memetics are anything that is not shared through genetics. And that's language, that's parenting, anything. And it's something that's useful for people more so than animals, because like a cow, when a cow is born, in about 5 minutes, he's up and running around. He didn't have to learn to walk. He just knew. But for people, we don't know a lot of things when we're born. When we're born, our instincts don't give us much. And there's something called the big head theory, which we can get into too, but that's more of one of those Rollo and I getting super nerdy into the red pill space kind of conversations, so I won't bore you with it here. You need like 4 hours to talk about the big head theory. Oh yeah, my cousin, as soon as he got out of the Navy, married the chick with 2 kids, but just want to spin plates. Hey, like I said, it's your life. You live it how you want, right? Oh, big head theory. Yeah, so we have to learn things, and that's what the purpose of language is. That's the purpose of art. That's the purpose of religion. Mental models. A narrative structure that our brain can use to make decisions and anchor our decisions to. Because thinking individual situations through, logically and rationally, takes too much effort. Our brains are wired to be lazy and efficient. And so mental models are how it processes. That was the selective pressure. And that was why we kind of evolved for that. The people who didn't do that died off. The ones who did, still here today. So think about that. Think about that when you're starting to see all the narratives being paraded around. And this is where I really suggest, guys, take your media and social media consumption seriously. Because these things affect you in small ways. I'll use a great example for this. I don't watch Manosphere content. I don't even think the Manosphere exists, but it's for the sake of argument. Any person online talking about sex or relationships or being a real man or any of those identity markers that we're supposed to not be like the feminist about. What is masculine? That's a marketing term for identity. All you have to do is put a pixie cut on it and talk about patriarchy and you got yourself feminism. But a lot of people like to preach this and the other thing, and there's like very similar narratives. These hoes ain't loyal, belong to the streets. Women are children. Like, you guys know all the different little models, and I think they're fucking ridiculous. They're not really useful, but they're really good to see and commiserate with. Now, as a content creator, if you watch that enough, your content starts to be geared toward it. It's kind of similar to audience capture. Jordan Peterson, great example for that. He was doing his clinical psychology thing. He started doing maps of meaning. He kind of broke down the Bible, like the secular one. Like, what was that? The Ben Franklin, I think it was, wrote a book about the life and times of Jesus of Nazareth, which is basically the Bible minus anything, supernatural, which, whatever. You can be into it. You can be not to. It's not the point. Is that the audience started to, poison people's head because they're always talking about the same stupid topics that aren't useful, the same commiserating topics. And if that's all you hear, then you start to believe it. Or at least it starts to influence your content. Like, I noticed this on Twitter. Every day on Twitter, there is a main character, and your goal is not to be him. There'll be remember that Whatever podcast, the chick there with the boobs sitting there, and she said like 500 times. For that entire day, me included, everybody was talking about her. It's like 6-year-olds playing soccer. You just chase the soccer ball. So if you were just consuming the internet writ large, YouTube videos writ large, your content's geared towards that. And that's the same thing for you. If all you're watching is romantic comedies, that's the only inputs you're getting. Your brain's working in the background to build mental models that kind of like integrate those. Now, I'm not saying it'll make you automatically, school shootings aren't caused by video games, but if you're missing mental models in your life on certain things, these narrative fictions fill the gaps. And a big part of it is, and this is where it's hard, because you don't know what you need if you don't know. You know, the unknown unknowns. And when people fill your head with nonsense, that's how you fill those unknowns. They could be completely wrong, but they're all you know. And then people have various solutions, like, well, you gotta, look at both sides of the issue, which fine, but it's really like, which flavor of propaganda do you want better? Well, I prefer my propaganda to be Neapolitan. I don't like chocolate or vanilla. Doug Chisholm. Oh, dude, thank you so much for the penny free. $49.99. 3 installments of $49.99. You too can get your Mano Swamp. Donation for your femur extensions to pass the 6-foot test. Thanks for the content. By the way, my life continues to get better. My kids and I enjoy our time despite them having divorced parents. It was better they see divorced and happy versus together and miserable. Dude, if only this was here 10 minutes ago. That's the perfect example. Yeah, it'd be great if you had 2 happy parents sitting here together talking to each other, but you don't. So the best thing that you can do is provide them a good example of a great dad. And again, it's the same as what we're talking about here with like audience capture. You can talk to your kids all you want about how to be good people. But again, people hate sales. People love marketing. What's better is they see you as a good example of a good dad, and they're going to use those little narratives, little stories over your life that you're not even going to pay attention you had. Do you ever notice this whenever you get back together with an old friend or a family member you haven't seen in a while? What do you usually do? You usually sit there and you like, hey, remember that time? Insert a story here. Remember that time in Dubai? You slept with that girl because Dave Webb wanted her and you didn't want Dave to win. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that. All those little things are like hundreds of little mental models that your brain have shaped your friendships and your family with over the years. And they're anchoring your decisions to. If these stories are all good, nostalgic stories, you tend to have good, nostalgic experiences with your family and friends. If they are horrible stories of getting screwed over or whatever by your bitch ex-wife, they tend to pepper how you treat current relationships and current wives and stuff like that, right? Exactly. Reminiscing good times. So it's not even so much about trying to see both sides of an issue. It's really a case of putting that bucket on your head, man. Like, I really do. It's one of my favorites, red-pilled, like, mental models. You must put this bucket on your head right now. And it's, yeah, everybody's filling your head with nonsense. Pearlie's got her, like, what is the fucking financial abortion and blah, blah, blah. And Fresh and Fit are like, name 5 countries now. Knew you couldn't do it. Vegas, bitch. Whatever's like, hey, you're cool. Are you smart at anything? And she's like, no, I just got tits. And you're watching this stuff and it's filling your head with stuff. And then all these little gaps and how you treat people is kind of influenced by it. Now, you can go that route if you want to, but look at them. Like, look at the whatever guy. Is he sitting there? Do you know anything about his life? Not really. I don't. The Fresh and Fit guys, do you know anything about his life? No, not really. It's always nice to know. It's like, are they just trying to sell you stuff? Like, do they even believe it? Can you separate the work from the person? If they're convincing you to do something, are they even trying to live it? God, how many examples do we need of conservative pundits, like American conservative pundits, ragging about trans issues, and then you find out they had ladyboy fetishes for like the last 10 years. It's like, bro, come on. Then you realize, yeah, the narratives they're filling you with aren't to help you. They're to have them help cope. It's very easy to see it when it's other people. When you see a woman saying, all my friends everybody's intimidated by me because I'm too damn successful. It's like, no, you're actually just a cunt. And no guy wants to spend time with a cunt. Plus you're becoming a fat cunt now because you're getting older and you stop exercising. Like, be pleasant. But they're trying to fill your head with that narrative about the strong, independent woman, not because it's for your benefit, not because they even want to sell you anything, but because they feel insecure about it and they need to project that as their form of gaining security. Once you believe them, then they can believe them. And it's horrible. So yeah, what do you do around this? Well, you just really, like, again, put the bucket on your head. Is this person happy? Is this girl talking about intimidated boss bitch men? Is she happy? If not, then you can ignore it. Now, it's easy when it's a girl doing it. Because, is it going to be as easy when you see a guy talking about it? When you see, like, your Matt Walsh's talking about how great this, that, and the other thing is? I would not be surprised to find out that the only time he and his wife has sex is when they're trying to have another kid. That's probably why he has 6 kids. He's had sex 7 times. You know, the honeymoon and then one per kid. It's not even, it's a psyop. Like, I don't want to give it any gravitas to it. It's just stupid meat puppets. Stupid monkey people doing stupid monkey people things. That's all we do. It's just emergent strategy. People like to cope with their insecurities by projecting them out as if it's like the opposite. People like to pretend that they are what they're not. People like you to buy things. People say what they think you want to hear. They pander. You put 100,000 people together all doing this, you're going to see patterns emerge just because people are similar. It's not a psyop. It's just people. Yeah, and then you got to be very skeptical of it. It's something that you want to believe. Now, don't get me wrong. If everything's going well for you, your business is crushing it, your relationship's good, you got sex on tap, you're getting blown under your desk with the podcast right now, absolutely. If you see things that resonate hard with you, go with it. But if you're in any type of like disarray in your life, if your job's not where you want it to be, if your relationships aren't where they want it to be, if the sex is not where you want it to be, I would be very skeptical about people that say things that resonate with me. Politics too. Dude, the fucking Democrats are killing everything. Yeah, that's why I hate my boss. It's not because I'm unassertive. It's not because I'm putting up with this situation because economically where I live it's a bad idea. It's not because of anything. It's because of those fucking Democrats. And they're putting the drag queens in there, and that's the problem. It's like, yeah, not really. Donation. Oh, thank you. Aboutlifting.com, 137.50 Filipino pesos. I think so, yeah. Donation for the 6-foot surgery. Where is this meme from the 6-foot surgery coming in? Was that one guy who did the Gattaca shit? Fucking hell. Act like you have 7 inches, you'll get results, experience tested. Oh, 6-inch or 6-foot surgery. Act like you have 7-inch. The dick thing. Girls don't know about dicks. They don't care. Girls have no idea. They don't know what 6 inches looks like. If you don't believe me, go check when they try to parallel park. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Yeah, at $20 a pop, troll away. Fair enough, fair enough. I'll be pleasant for $20, I'm just saying. Yeah, $20 is $20. We want you to pass the 6-foot test as a spin-off. Maybe I'll make that as my next series after the Mids Watch is done, the 6-foot test. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Yeah, fiction creates mental models. So you just got to remember this, like everything you watch. Yes, Hollywood does it to some extent. The whole diversity is our strength thing. They're targeting kids. They're not targeting grown-ass men. And that's why you can see it. And that's the scary part, is that the thing about these grifts, the thing about these manipulative fictional narratives that make you believe things, if you can see it, it probably wasn't designed for you. If you can't see it or it's hard to see it, it's probably the exact type of thing that you're designed for. That's the scary part. So yeah, you really have to become, and this is why, like, why is he so cynical and jaded and kind of a prick? It's like, you kind of have to be. Like, I am very harsh towards red-pilled content creators. And it's like, why? It's because, why aren't you so mad at feminists? It's like, I don't have any expectations for them. If I'm sitting in here working with the space and I have somebody that I have to consider a peer, and if you're working and you say red pill on your fucking podcast, then you're technically a peer. It's like, I have an expectation that if you're going to fucking shout this shit out, not to fucking embarrass me. And they all do. They all do. With the exception of the Rule Zero guys. They're pretty good. But, like, don't fucking embarrass me. It's the same thing. Why are you so hard on men? Why aren't you hard on women? It's like, I don't have any expectations for women. But that's not fair. Yeah, probably not. But here we are. Once you grow tits and have a good vagina, then maybe we can argue about it. So yeah, fiction creates mental models. What are we going to use now? Let's go fun.
One of the guys who ran the Red Pill channel sent me a message. I actually appreciate that you took it from an idea-based perspective instead of ever resorting to personal attack. Like, if this movement is actually going to be dangerous, do we need to understand it so that we can take it down? I knew going into it that this might be a hot mess. I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
Rule Zero is like the Avengers of the Manosphere, in the sense that, like, it started to get really good and then dropped off a cliff by the 3rd episode. That kind of Avengers. Yeah, damn inflation. Alright, so the last one here. So you know what? Let's do 20. Let's do more. I haven't shown a lot of these ones off in a while. Let's just go down the list. Let's get them all out of the way.
I love the way girls smell. I love how they always make sure, by and large, they shower, and they just have an amazing an amazing smell to them in general.
We know that these videos really prey on vulnerable young men who have not had many experiences in dating.
Marty, what's she gonna take it down with? Her giant tits? Fucking guy. No harshness. No terms of service violations here, sir. I think they're wonderful people, all of them. Pat's a traitor to our country. I can't stand him. Oh, fuck off. Which country? Poland? The one he's moving to? So the last bit here is calories create fat people, victims of the environment. This isn't a long one. It's actually going to be pretty short. That's why I have like bants at the end of this. But people really associate too much with like our personal choices and not nearly enough with technology in our environment. I've talked about it before that the differences in marriage over the years have largely been technological shifts, not so much personal failings. Like in a Paleolithic time, there was no need for marriage because everybody lived in small tribes. You were probably sleeping with your cousin. You know, takes a village. Everybody's DNA was close enough that you just needed the women pregnant as much as possible. Kind of didn't matter who slept with them. But then, as we developed into an agrarian society, personal ownership became a thing, which meant you had to pass it down over generations. Therefore, you know, marriage became a thing. Marrying virgins became a thing. They were just necessities of the environment. And now in the Industrial Revolution, not so much. Wando, thank you, sir. €2 super chat. Can we link those demographics with geomaxing? Geomaxing. Dude, I hate the 4chan language, how it's taken over like this. It's so ridiculous. Geomaxing. I don't know. Maybe it's because I think the reason that geomaxing doesn't really appeal to me is because I've already been around the world. And I don't think any of these geomaxing passport bros tell you this, but everybody's about the same. Yeah, the ones in Dubai are prostitutes. Yeah, the ones in Oman are wearing burqas. Yeah, the ones in South Korea are this. And yeah, the ones in Thailand are that. And yeah, the South American girls are this. And in Panama this. But I noticed this, like, after about the 4th day in any individual country, you start to see, like, oh, that reminds me exactly like home. Like, I think my one great example for that was at the Rock Bottom in Dubai. And these Iranians and Palestinians were getting into a fight outside the bar until the Palestinian guys were picking up bricks off the street. Like, there was a pile of bricks there because they were fixing the street and they didn't finish. And they were throwing it at the Lamborghini of the Iranian guys. And dude, replace that Lamborghini or whatever it was with a Ford F-150 and replace the bricks with beer bottles. And that would have been my hometown growing up. Just whipping beer bottles at Buddy as he's driving off. So I'm like, that, talking to my driver in Oman about how he was hitting on girls and cheating on his wife and how he had 2 cell phones. I'm like, this sounds like a very familiar story. And it turns out everybody is we're all kind of the same. So if you can't pick up girls in, you know, Orange County, California, you're not going to be able to pick up girls in Phuket, Thailand, or... Yeah, see, Wando, €2 again. Laid pipe in 3 continents already. Same. People are just the same. And I know there's that thing where you might get a boost. And don't get me wrong. If you're a white guy in South Korea, like an English-speaking white guy, you get a boost. But the same way that a girl can get her tits done, and she gets a boost. There's all different ways of boosting. If you want to get a boost here, join a band. You want to get a boost here, get a job as a bartender. There's hundreds of ways to boost. But think about, out of all the boosts you can get, how expensive they are. So I could get a job as a bartender, get an extra point or 2 on your sexual market value, maybe get laid a little bit more, maybe join a band. Or I can uproot my life, become an expat in a different place, live out of my suitcase. Like, think about the cost versus the benefit there. I don't think the opportunity cost of geomaxing passport bros is anywhere near useful. I would rather just join a band, you know, learn to play the drums. Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah, Chad, that's a good example. I don't like bringing up DMs, but since you did. Yeah, our DMs with receipts also show the same thing. People are people. Dude, Mish and I have like the same stories growing up, single, sex, having fun, that sort of thing. The only difference is he had a much better sense of style because my pickup days were like in the 2000s, which we kind of made some stupid decisions in the 2000s, in the mystery days. He at least has a nice little blazer. Yeah. Read Gendernomics 1 and 2 and get good. Well, I don't think they can anymore. Carl's taking those off the market, so I have one of the few remaining copies left, which is nice. So yeah, calories create fat people victims of environment. Do you want to know how you can tell if people are getting fat? It's if the GDP per capita of a country goes up. It's actually technically in reverse. Did you know one of the main ways that all of the world, like geopolitical organizations, decide whether a world moves from the developing nation to the developed world is diabetes? It was fascinating. I remember reading this guy who was studying diabetes in Turkey. And you could literally see when Turkey became a developed nation because diabetes skyrocketed. And the reason why diabetes skyrocketed is because food supply skyrocketed, because now people had energy, people had food, people had water, people had prosperity, so they could afford the food. And what's the result of that? People get fat. Turns out being fat is a luxury thing, a luxury belief. And yeah, we have to develop all these different ways of dealing with obesity. You have to eat better, you have to work out more. You have to accept that people are going to be just generally bigger than when they were emaciated, and that's fine. But you take that same person, you put them in fucking 1990s Rwanda, I guarantee you they lose 20 pounds. If not a little bit more, depending on if you're Hutu or Tutsi. Oh, that's so off topic. I don't know, but whatever. Dude, so Mark Rober, you guys ever heard of this guy? He's like a former NASA scientist. He makes a YouTube channel, and he always does goofy, like kid-friendly stuff. Like, we're going to make elephant toothpaste and a pool's worth of it. And we're going to fly to the moon. And he had this one video talking about how in Rwanda they were using drones to transport medical supplies to stuff. And then he started talking about how it's such a great place now because after the 1990s genocide, there was no more ethnic conflict in Rwanda, and their crime rates are lower than the States. I'm like, the fuck did he just say? Did you just say the Rwandan genocide was great because now that they don't have any more diversity, there's no more conflict? It's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, there's no way people on Twitter weren't pissed off at that statement. I look at Twitter, I look at here, and like, nobody's angry about that. I'm like, he just went pro-Rwandan genocide, bro. And you guys are like, yeah, but those drones are cool. I'm just like, I don't understand social media anymore. I think it's one of those, if they like you, and if you tell them you're family friendly, they'll just believe you. So, like, whatever. Whatever. Yeah, it was crazy. Ryan won't show us his pictures with the t-shirt over the dress shirt look. Yeah, I never quite went that bad, Marty. I tried it once and I was like, I can't do it. It's just too hard. I never liked shirts under dress shirts either, so you got to remember, a lot of this stuff is environment. And so the point of this, and this is the one, like, I'll probably end this off here in the next 10 minutes, but the one takeaway from this is your environment matters so much more than you know. And that's for everything. Mental health. If you're having issues with depression or issues with manic or any of those like psychological things, take a look at your environment. Don't go to a shrink. Don't take SSRIs. All this is just like talking about it to make you feel better about it. Taking pills to make you feel better about it. They're not fixing anything. It's your environment. If you have a 90-minute commute each way to a house that you could, and you're basically house poor because you bought the biggest place you could to provide for your wife and you hate life and you're miserable because you have no free time, then yeah, your environment's the problem. It's not your mental health. We don't need mental health solutions. You need environmental solutions. Move to someplace nicer. Move to someplace cheaper. Take a job with less pay but more freedom of time. Get a strong work from home place. If you're depressed and socially anxious because you're never around people, then yeah, maybe it's because you live in a suburb where the nearest place to go be social is like 5 clicks away. Go move to a city, to the place where, like, just outside my building, there's a nice little breakfast place. You can just go down there and it's always full of people and there's a lineup. You can talk to people in lineup. You put yourself into situations where sociability is more inclined to happen, then yeah, you're going to be more social and that anxiety is going to go away. Somebody asked early on about how to deal with the social anxiety, and it's mostly just exposure. Exposure solves everything. Same thing with girls. I don't think there's any women. Anywhere I go, I never find any of them. It's because you go to places where guys go. If you want to see more women, do things and go places where girls are at. Don't live in a mining town. If you want to live in Fort McMurray, that's great. Tons of money working the oil rigs. No women up there. A lot of dudes. Expensive places because everybody with oil money wants to live up there. So now they have like $1 million homes in the middle of fucking nowhere. At that point, you might as well just rent some cheap place and buy an expensive place in downtown Montreal because that's where all the girls are. Girls are by universities. Go to a place that's a university town. There's going to be women everywhere. Go to a place that's got nice sunny weather like Miami. Yeah, girls are everywhere. Yes, the Miami ones are for Instagram models, so it's a lot of whoring going around, but whatever. I mean, have you lived life? Like, you've never lived until you've kicked a girl off your fucking podcast. So, get it out of your system. Wapiti, what's the best way to keep track of other channels you appear on? I guess the community tab, man. Usually if I'm on somebody else's channel, I'll put a reference to it in there for you guys, but... And then Twitter. Usually if I'm on somebody else's channel, you'll see me giving a thank you note or some links to stuff. Tuesday, for example, I'm going to go on again with Fort Worth Playboy's girl there, the bunny. I can't remember what we're talking about, but it's probably something cool. So if you're gay, that's the place to go. Thanks, yeah. Exactly. So just remember that. It's environment. If you're in a place where you're fat, look around. Is everybody around you fat? Clearly there's something about the environment or the social thing that makes everybody eat more and eat worse and get fatter and work out less. So it might just be a case of moving. That's like as old as pickup. Remember, people hate sales, but they love marketing. When you're in a place where it's got fewer women, a lot more guys are doing sales. A lot more guys are leading with their good job in that. And a lot of girls become pickier. That's where, I think you guys have heard it before. They call them like Midwest Sevens, Navy Hot. Because everybody's got a term for it. It's girls that are the minority in a social area. And so they tend to get a much more inflated sense of self-esteem just because of the rarity of it. If you're the one, like on the ship, it was 20-1 girls to guys. Or guys to girls. So for every girl, there's 20 guys on board. Those girls are probably the most self-entitled chicks you've ever met. You got fat chicks acting like they're just king shit. And that's because there's just no other options. So think about that. And instead of just bitching about how these entitled girls think they deserve shit, think, where can I go where I get to be that entitled shit and girls get to fight over me? Why do you think guys get into photography or filming modeling? Or, the porn industry is a bunch of cameramen and really good IT guys. It's like, yeah, get into that industry. If you're in an industry where everybody you meet socially is a porn star, you're probably at some point going to sleep with the porn star. More so, well, maybe more so than being in church, but I was going to say most of those porn stars, when they leave the industry, they kind of go to church and marry the pastor anyway. It's always the pastor. You notice that? It's never one of the congregation. It's always the pastor. So, I don't know. Maybe that's the issue. Aboutlifting.com, 275 pesos. Reason I said average women canal is 5 inches. They'll feel 7. Better, taller, no. Good mindset. Too late for them to know if you're smaller. Hearts you, man. Oh, if you really want to talk about the vagina stuff, which I know everybody does, talk to a doctor. The nerves where all the feeling are. You can run this experiment yourself. Parts of your dick have no feeling and other parts extremely sensitive. Vagina is exactly the same. You know where the most sensitive part of a girl's vagina is? The first 2 inches. First 2 inches. Crazy, isn't it? Something to think about. Anyways, paradoxically, I find the girls in male-dominant fields are often interested in you when you're an outsider. Well, of course. Every guy is acting so unattractive and they're simping for her and their competition, like all that stuff. Yeah, just being the outside guy. But, again, depending on the trade, it's not the case. Like here, I'll end on this. We'll do one more shitpost video and then we'll ban for a bit and be gone. But in the military, every military girl married a military guy. And outside of those guys, every guy married a civilian girl. Girls in the military really couldn't, like they could only date in the military. Civilian guys just weren't interested. Military guys were interested. But in the military, girls loved military guys and guys actively looked for girls outside of the military. So, you're a princess in the bush, a pig in the city. Okay. Anyways, so that's it for me. We'll skip the assertive Bill of Rights. I don't think we need that. It kind of felt a little force-fed in here anyway. We're going to be doing Rule 0. Is it Troy's channel? It was something about guys being clueless on dating. Which is true. Guys are fucking stupid. I'm out of practice, but I'm not stupid. That's fine. Anyways, that's all I got for you. Let's talk some shit about somebody. Oh, no, actually, let's do this.
Charles Bukowski. Jordan Peterson. Neil Strauss. I like these guys. Add some salt to cover up the bitterness of middle-aged soccer moms and put in the oven for 45 minutes. Optionally, you can take from all this stuff what you want and leave the rest. So enjoy Fuck Files. 15 lessons from a decade of women, now on audio.
Nice. Oh, did I already do that one? All right. This one.
Name a bigger red flag than a white guy with a podcast. I'll wait.
I am not impressed. I will have you know, I'm like 80% white. The podcast is goddamn good, and I don't want you anyway. You got random Iroquois art and not art on your walls. You're not my type, sir. Or madam. I don't know, you're allowed to say any more?
And yeah, I got an ad for Praxeology. I just haven't added it yet. I'll get around to it. But on that note, I hope you guys enjoy yourselves. Have fun. After this, we're going to redirect to the Rule 0 thing so you guys can see that. Again, it's Troy. It's Men Are Clueless About Dating. Should be fun times. We're going to run this for 20 seconds. See if we can get the chummy going. Thanks, Yeoman. I don't know. Would I be a yeoman or a snack? Naval Communicators, let's hear it. Shout out.